Ireland beating Azerbaijan 3-0 the other night. Now, for me, it was brilliant to see a team that's, got plenty of limited players, we know that, but trying to get the maximum out of themselves, played the ball around, actually worked it really well. You're watching this team now and they've had terrible results, and this was the first competitive win under Stephen Kenny. But you're thinking maybe finally it's coming together. And you asked the question then, are there any examples of GA managers that badly needed a result, and when they finally got it, things started to kick off? Let's hope that that's the case for Stephen Kenny and from Ireland. It was just brilliant to see a victory like that. I was delighted to see Callum Robinson getting a couple of goals after all the virtue signalling that was rammed down his throat during the week. And I actually put up a poll too, because I think an awful lot of it was media making a huge thing out of the Callum Robinson thing, and the average person, maybe they mightn't necessarily agree with him, but they don't want to kind of burn him at the stake for it either, just because he has said that he's not vaccinated. And I just thought it was so egregious that people were openly asking him at a press conference if he is. I mean, it's the lad's personal health. How dare you ask him? But anyway, he scored the goal, and I kind of tweeted, or 2 goals, and I tweeted, did people actually cheer when he scored the goal? Because I wanted to figure out, is it a case that people actually really had it in for him, or was it a case that media were making a huge amount out of it? So I just did a poll that lasted 2 hours, 412 votes. Did you cheer for Callum Robinson when he scored his goals? And 86% said yes. So to me, while it's not entirely reflective, and some people would probably clarify that, look, I don't like him, and I wasn't cheering for him, I was cheering for Ireland's score and whatever. But 86% to me says that a lot of the witch hunt isn't reflective of what the average person thinks.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you there. It was prime kind of conditions for people to use the double jab pun after. I think I saw that in nearly every Sunday paper. Somebody put it up online, I'd say, and everybody saw it and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have myself a bit of that," because it was absolutely everywhere. But hopefully Ireland will go on to better things, and it'll always be. I always kind of the metaphor I'd use is that the dam will burst. I hope that the dam will burst now as a result of that. And there's plenty of examples in the GA. I'm sure. I always think of localized examples when I think about this. When someone needs a result, 2 would definitely stand out within Offaly. So Kilcormac had been beaten in plenty of county finals, and we had been their bogey team, really. We'd beaten them in a couple of semi-finals, a couple of county finals, and they beat us in a county semi-final in 2012 by a point, and several things. I remember Trevor Fletcher actually took a free that day, missed the pickup, and sideline cut the ball over the bar, and they ended up winning by a point. And it was just this massive weight off their back. They went on to win Offaly and Leinster that year. Were beating the All-Ireland Club final. They've won probably 4 or 5 county titles since. That would be one, just on the back of one result. Rhinus would be another one. They were beaten in county finals in 12, maybe 14, 15, I think. And they beat us in the county final again. Unfortunately, we're the common denominator. They won in 16, then they won in 19, then they won in 20, and they're favourites to win it again in 2021. But it's when you eventually get over the line, it's the weight of expectation that's off your shoulders, and now all of a sudden you can express yourself. And Rhinos are a prime example of they maybe would have lost games towards the end because they hadn't got over the line. Now they're the team that if they're in a match anywhere near the end, you think that they're the ones that are going to finish strongly, because it's almost this muscle memory that's built up, having eventually got over the line. So, any examples to you, county examples, club examples of when that release valve is taken off, that teams can just totally flourish?
I would say I can think of one for Liam Sheedy. I would imagine that Offaly performance in 2010. So remember, after getting hammered by Cork, and this was, having gone so close against Kilkenny the year before in the All-Ireland in 2009, got battered by Cork and then went in the back door. And I think, were you on the Offaly panel at the time?
Yeah, no, I was. I think it was doing hurls the same day.
114 or something?
I think it was 121 to 112. I could be wrong.
Okay. It was something like that anyway. So Tipperary laboured through that game, but then began to kick on from there. Now, maybe we're never necessarily in fear of losing that game or against Wexford the next day. So maybe the real performance was actually against Galway in the All-Ireland quarter-final. Remember, towards the very end of the game, I always remember John O'Brien catching puckouts and being really important at that in that part of the game, but also Pa Burke setting up scores in the last couple of minutes. So I'd say that one stands out for me. Flash says John Kiley for us against Kilkenny. I'm sure that's 2018. Not that he was under pressure, but that was a huge win for us. Not just getting to an All-Ireland semi-final, but beating Kilkenny. So would there have been any other ones?
They tipped Tipperary against Offaly, and that was 21 points to 112, and Shane Dooley got the goal at the very end. But it's funny that you're after naming, there's probably 3 results, and it kind of almost built up to that Galway result. Like people probably forget about that. Lar did this little merry-go-round kind of circly thing to put over an outrageous point to win the game. Then all of a sudden, 4 or 5 weeks later, Tipperary blow Kilkenny away in an All-Ireland final.
Yeah. 2020. Okay, so is there cases whereby you could win a game and it mightn't stand to you that year or the next year, but ultimately it's crucial for the development of the team a couple of years down the line? So I'd say with Coola 2012, Ballyboden had won a 5 in a row, and we had a winner-takes-all final group game against them, and we beat them. And I'd say that was probably the making of the team, even though the team didn't win the county final until 2015. But that kind of broke the stranglehold at that stage that Ballyboden had, and probably gave us the belief. Now, we went on and lost the county final to Crokes, but I do think it was a big thing for the team.
Back to Liam Sheedy again, and this is actually a game that they didn't win, but the way they put it up to Kilkenny in the league final in 2009 made them believe, they went all the way to extra time, actually made them believe that they could do what they were going to do. It was probably about 18 months later in the 2010 All-Ireland final. Be interesting to hear. I think the Limerick one against Kilkenny is a really, really good one. It was in the rain. I remember Tom Morrissey saying after that they wanted to make their own history. It was just a real kind of pressure kind of lifting performance almost. And I'm sure within everybody's county they can think of an example maybe where that has happened.
Yeah, keep the comments coming in here. Niall Heffernan says, Adair won their first county championship in 2001 after being in loads of finals, beat their near rivals Patrick's well out the gate, and went on to win 5 counties over the decade. Some teams like Thurles Sarsfields, they would have that also. I'm sure it's happened with Offaly as well. There must be a sort of a signature win they had en route to maybe winning that All-Ireland back in the early 90s.
Oh, Jenny Mac. There was probably a couple that set the template. Beating Kilkenny in the 1980 Leinster final, having been absolutely destroyed by them since hurling's history began, was a massive one. And funnily enough, Shane, that's exactly what you said earlier. They didn't get the benefits of that maybe until the year after when they did win the All-Ireland. I think they were beaten by Galway in the All-Ireland semi-final in 80. But they had the belief to go and win Leinster the next year, and even the experience of being in the All-Ireland stages and then to go on and beat Galway the year later. So that's probably a prime example of that, I'd say.
ML89 says Kilkenny against Cork in 2006. But I just wonder, the fact that that Kilkenny team, most of their players had already won an All-Ireland or two, is that quite the same level? Because, isn't this supposed to kind of release the valve a little bit and sort of allow you to access the quality that's there and kick on when maybe you've been held back psychologically or whatever beforehand? So I don't know, did Kilkenny have massive hang-ups in terms of being able to beat Cork before that?
If at that time Brian Cody had been beaten for a 3rd year in a row and hadn't won an All-Ireland, potentially maybe we wouldn't have seen what we did after. There's a fair chance of that, because they were beaten in 99 when he came in, they won in 2000, were beaten in 01, won in 02, won in 03, beaten in 04, 05. If they'd been beaten in 06 and Cork had done 3 in a row, history could be a lot different, funnily enough. So I didn't agree when I saw it initially, but I probably do agree now.
I retract my statement. That is huge.
That is rare air.
If you enjoyed this piece of content, please follow us on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner of the page, which helps the channel grow. And if you want audio podcasts, go to patreon.com/ourgame.